If you clicked on today's video, most likely you're navigating some type of change in your life at the moment. Either life is really forcing you to let go some aspects of your life, or then you're starting to feel this inner calling that you're ready to start making some changes in your life. So if that is the case, you've definitely come to the right place, because in today's video, I'm going to give you a step-by-step process on how you can start navigating change with so much more confidence, with ease, and do I dare to say it, excitement. Because when life is forcing you to change, it often just means that there's something so much more aligned coming into your life, but often change is very difficult and letting go is always a hard process. So that's why in today's video, I want to make sure that I'm helping you to reframe the concept of change, but also, as mentioned, giving you the step-by-step process. So when I was 34 years old, my whole life changed. So big areas of my life, for example, my career went through a whole pivot, my relationships, my living situation, all of it. And I felt incredibly scared, overwhelmed. I didn't fully have clarity what I wanted from my life. And I just remember thinking, like, oh my God, like, how can I start from scratch at 35 years old? And I was incredibly overwhelmed, as mentioned. So that's why one key thing that I started doing that really helped me was starting to reframe the whole concept of change. Instead of me thinking about that life was happening at me, I started to think life is happening for me. And I know it's hard when you're in the midst of change and life is taking a lot of things from you or pushing you to change. The first thing you want to do is to control it. And it's very hard in that moment to see how much more amazing things are coming into your life. And I also remember thinking, like, I don't want to let go of these things. But now looking back 5 years later, I can see very clearly why those changes took place in my life in the first place. Because by the age of 35 years old, and I was about 35 when everything started to shift for me, we are very much hardwired to live a very conditioned life. So 95% of our subconscious mind is developed at that point. So we are completely operating on autopilot. And that point, I couldn't see that I was actually quite unhappy in my relationship. I couldn't see that my career wasn't fulfilling me anymore, because the concept of change and the idea of letting go was so scary that I was just trying to hold on to things, even those things weren't serving me anymore, but I just couldn't see it in the moment. So that's why this reframing is very important, because when you start to understand that life is actually trying to help you to evolve and grow, life is actually trying to help you to have a lot more fulfillment in your life and joy, it just gets a little bit easier. So this leads me to the actual process. So if you're in the midst of change, the first thing which is very important to do is to start. I know this is hard. I know it's really hard in the moment, but trying to have a bit more curiosity and allow yourself just to go through the motions of change and start getting curious. Okay, like life is, for example, trying to take this relationship away from me. Can I just sit down with myself and go through a little bit of self-discovery and think, is this relationship actually what I want? And really learning to get to know yourself again. Like what in that relationship is what you love and what you don't love. And maybe starting to open your mind, maybe there could be a different type of relationship that feels a lot more aligned. And that was the same process I needed to do with myself when I started to sit down with myself and realized, actually, I'm not getting all the things that I needed from this relationship, or I'm not fully feeling seen and heard. And so it helped me to just open my mind a little bit more into new possibilities, what life was trying to bring into my life. So that's the first step, like really just opening your mind to the possibility of something new and better and alive might be coming into your life, and doing the self-discovery work. So In the link in the description, I put a free guide that you can check out. It basically breaks down the process of self-discovery when life is pushing you to change. And you can just have those questions and sit down with those questions and think about, okay, what feels the most aligned for me? And start having a little bit of a plan, because it always helps when everything is very external, chaotic on the external, to have a little bit more inner plan. And that leads me to my next step, which is working with the nervous system. Why this is so important is when everything is chaotic on the external, and in my case, for example, everything was shifting all at once. Every area of my life was shifting all at once. So the only thing I knew I could do is to focus on my internal experience. Because what is very natural when we're navigating change is we want to control. We want to take action. We want to just try to figure things out. And that's often the worst thing you can do when you're navigating change. The best thing, the most effective thing you can do is to work with your own inner experience and working with your own nervous system. And I teach a lot highly sensitive people, and especially for highly sensitive people, change is so much more harder. So for us, it's so important when you're navigating change is that you really work with your nervous system. You have grounding practices, for example, doing grounding breath work, meditations, EFT tapping. I put one script in the free ebook as well that you can utilize that helps you to really calm your nervous system. Grounding, whatever that is for you, just finding that peace within yourself when everything on external feels very chaotic. Third step, which is also very important, is just to be very kind to yourself, because when you're navigating change, it is very scary, it's very overwhelming. I would just try to take 1 minute at a time, one step at a time, one day at a time, and not try to think too far ahead. Just concentrate on emotions that you have in the moment, processing them, letting them go, grounding yourself, and starting to slowly get clear on how do you want to feel on a day-to-day basis. Because often when we start to think too far ahead, we disconnect from the present moment. And when we disconnect from the present moment, fear starts to pop up. And when fear starts to pop up, you just feel like life is throwing you all over the place. And I remember this feeling so clearly. And I always needed to say to myself when fear was taking over me, is to go back to my daily practice, to go back to regulating my nervous system, go back to knowing whatever is happening in my life is here for a reason. And things are always working out for me. This is one of my favorite mantras. Things are always working out for me. Even though I don't think things are working out for me, things are working out for me. Okay, so here was this 3-step process. 1, get really curious and do the self-discovery work, what that new reality might be for you. 2nd step, work on your nervous system and making sure you're regulating your nervous system, you're allowing yourself to process your emotions. Really be kind to yourself and nurture that inner experience. And 3rd step, just take 1 step at a time, 1 micro step at a time. Don't try to think too far ahead, because sometimes you might feel, especially as a high sensitive person, even more overwhelmed, because change often creates overwhelm in our system. So just really focusing on regulating yourself and being connected to the present moment, and just allowing yourself to navigate the change process 1 step at a time. So I hope this video has been useful for you. I honestly know how it feels, and I can guarantee, as someone who's gone through 360 pivot in my mid to late 30s, I 100% know what is on the other side is so much more better than you can even realize now, because I couldn't see it in the moment. I was holding on to the old things that wasn't serving me anymore because I didn't want to let go. But now being quote unquote on the other side, I get it. I get why life was just creating so much chaos in my life, because it wanted me to let go so I can evolve and become the authentic version of myself, which I am now. And this life that I'm living now was never the life that I could imagine in my rational mind, because I was so conditioned to think that my life was meant to evolve in a certain way. and it ended up actually being a million times better. So again, there's the ebook in the link if you want to check it out. It's just a very simple process for you to start, like just taking these step-by-step process in your life to start opening your mind towards something more aligned. So send the love, guys, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask in the description, not in the description, but in the video below. So thank you, guys.